rods in the ground? No. He couldn't drive them. Yeah, couldn't drive them any farther. Yeah. Whenever you want to do it, we'll do it. Oh, you talk about using the backhoe. Use the backhoe instead of using my back. Yeah, that's even better. Okay. It sounds like a great idea. Have electric up there at the thing. Yeah, that sounds perfect. Does anybody know the song "And Can It Be"? Or then we'll jump up for once. I don't think it's in our book. I think I've looked for it before. And it starts with the word and can it be? That's not in there. I was listening to the radio today, and that song came on, and I hadn't sung a song. We hadn't sung a song in years. It's like in chapel service when we were in college. They sing it like every 2 weeks. It's like one of our favorite songs. Okay, turn to page 229. This world is not my home. Page 229. Does anybody know this song? Yes. Okay, everybody knows it? Very good. Let's all stand to sing. Page 229. This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my happy home, then Lord, what would I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. I just realized my version of the song is not what's written in the book, so you just sing it however way it's written, or if you know it, sing it the way I sing it. Second verse. They're all expecting me, and that's one thing I know. My Savior pardoned me, and now I onward go. I know He'll take me through, though I am weak and poor, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Last verse. Just up in glory land we'll live eternally. The saints on every hand are shouting victory. Their songs of sweetest praise drift back from heaven's shore, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Thank you. Have a seat. All right, let's go, Lord, in prayer. Marie, you had a request for your niece, your great niece. Okay. What's her name? Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Anybody else with a spoken request? Anybody with an unspoken request? Oh, I got some others. Okay, let's pray for Annette. She had the procedure last Wednesday, and she was about 2 weeks. She'll have to go back to the doctor again, and she her well, she had that leaky. I don't know if I can explain all this the right way. She had leaky spinal fluid. They closed this. They sealed off the leak 4 months ago, whenever that was, 6 months ago, and her body kept producing more spinal fluid, which means it builds up. It builds up in pressure, which means it affects your memory. It affects all stuff in your brain. So they're thinking they may have to put a tube in, which my dad had one of those, where they put a shunt in your head. They run a tube under your skin, down into your belly, to drain into your belly. So my dad had one of those for years before he passed. And so I think they might have to do it with the net. So keep her in your prayers. Keep Patty in your prayers. She's really sick. She had treatment this week or last week, but she's really tired and really sick. So keep her in your prayers. The fireman that passed away on Monday, Jason Cuffey. I pray for his family. He's got a 5-year-old son. He's a good friend with Rob. Rob was the fire chief for a while. Just keep that family in your prayers. And then the boy that Charles, the boy named Charles that had a swimming accident about a month ago and broke his neck. I remember, y'all remember that prayer request, and he's had surgeries. He hasn't gotten much better. He's now been moved to a higher children's hospital, and his father died Sunday night for drug overdose, self-induced drug overdose. He just couldn't take what's going on. So keep those families in your prayers. And those have lost loved ones, and those are in a lot of pain this week. And we're glad to have Marie back. She's feeling better. Yay. Okay. She finally went to Dr. Thaxton and said, it's kind of funny. I highly recommend him to people all the time. And then sometimes some people go out there and it doesn't help, and some people does. So yeah, I'm glad she's back. She's doing better. Okay. Jared, will you lead some prayer? All right, let's go in the book of Esther. Book of Esther. Hope you. Oh, yeah. Very good. Yeah, very good. Shake small car or the big one? Small. Okay, yeah. Yeah. The brakes get hot. Yeah, they just kind of get hot sometimes. All right. Charlie made home safe. Jerry, y'all going out town? Becky is? Be safe, right? Anybody else? Praise report. God's blessed you in some way. God's blessed us all. Sometimes we just don't acknowledge it. Okay? Esther chapter 4. We're going to review just a little bit of the story. I'm going to ask you questions. Don't look at your Bibles right now. Look up at me, and I'm going to ask you questions. If I had $5 bills to hand out, we'll see if you get any answer. What's the king of Persia? What's his name? Charlie, don't read it. No, not Mordecai. She saw that name real quick. She glanced down and saw Mordecai. That's pretty good there. Right? Ahasuerus. They're both of you saying at the same time, both sides. Let's make it a competition, okay? Between Ahasuerus, the king of Persia. His first wife's name was what? Do you remember? Chapter 1. Her name was Vashti. And what did she do that was wrong? Right. She didn't come out, and she didn't come when he asked her to come. So he fired her from being queen and put her away. And then, so he ended up with a different wife, and her name is what? Esther. Okay? Yeah, Esther. Okay? So Esther was raised by her cousin Mordecai. It must be older than her, and her parents had passed, and they're Jewish. Okay? So now Esther's the queen, and Ahasuerus is the king. But it's not like a king and queen that you think of today, because she's like on a schedule for him. He'll let her know that he wants to come in on, what's today, July? What's say 17th, 18th, something like that. So what is it? We're pretty close. So he writes out his schedule, and and he says, okay, she can come in on August 1st. If she's not due till September 1st, she can't come into where he's at. And his throne room must be a huge room, whatever. And the Persians have a policy that if anyone comes in and he does not want them to come in unannounced or without being requested, he can do a thumbs down, or he can hold out his royal scepter to them, and they can come in and they can ask whatever, petition him for whatever they want. Okay? So there's another man that works for Ahasuerus, and he has been promoted, just like Daniel got promoted under Nebuchadnezzar, and Joseph was promoted in Egypt. So this man he's given authority to make any rule he wants. His name was Haman. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe someone had that answer. But Haman was promoted, and everyone's job was was told by the king and by everyone around him, when Haman walked by, you're supposed to bow down, kneel down as he goes by. Okay, so everyone bows except for one person. Who doesn't bow? Anybody know? Who refused to bow? Huh? Mordecai. Why did he refuse to bow, Charlie? Because Haman wasn't God. Of course, Haman didn't know he wasn't God, but he thought he was. But okay, so he's not a deity, but everyone's supposed to bow to him like he is. Okay, so we're going to read chapter 4. Okay, Haman has made a decree that all the Jews could be killed on a certain day, and he will give money to the government to pay for all the Jews to be killed. You can take everything they have. And the king signed off on it. Okay, the last part of chapter 3, verse 15. The post went out. That means the mail went out to tell everybody about it, being hastened by the king's commandment. The decree was given to Shushan the palace, and the king and Haman sat down to drink. But the city of Shushan was perplexed. I mean, everyone's up kind of wondering, why should we kill all the Jews? They're good people. They're hard-working people. Okay. When Mordecai, chapter 4, verse 1, when Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes. Sackcloth is like burlap. He put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry. He came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province whithersoever the king's commandment, his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hathach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. Stop reading right there, okay? So Haman comes into the king, and he says, there's a group of people that don't obey your laws. They have their own set of laws, and they're not good for our people. Chapter 3, verse 8 says, certain people, it says, the laws are diverse in matters, and it's not for the king's prophet to suffer them. They shouldn't be alive. None of these people should be alive. And the king says, do whatever he wants. Mordecai has this law. He signs it with the king's ring. And the notes go out, the posts go out to all the countries that all the Jews can be killed on a certain day. Mordecai dressed himself in sackcloth and ashes. And as they put ashes on their head like they're in mourning, and walk around in burlap, he's got a bitter cry and yelling out. And so he comes even to the king's gate, and he's dressed like this, and Esther sees him. She's not there at the gate. She must be up in the window somewhere, and she hears that Mordecai's down there. So she sends clothes out to him, and they come back, and he says, not going to put on the clothes. So she sends Hathach, or the guy's name is, one of the chamberlains, somebody works in there, sends him out, so what's going on? And Mordecai sends back the letter, so that all the Jews can be killed on this day. Okay, we're going to read some more story. This story is good. I just want to read it out loud rather than me telling as much as the story. Okay, verse 7. I'm start reading that. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasurers for the Jews to destroy them. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given to Shushan to destroy them. He showed it to Esther, to declare to her, and to charge her that she should go into the king to make supplication unto him, and to make requests before him for her people. I mean, he wants her to go in. Mordecai is telling, she's always obeyed, Esther's always obeyed Mordecai, and he said, go and tell the king that he can't kill the Jews. Hathach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. And again Esther spake, verse 10, and again Esther spake unto Hathach and gave him commandment unto Mordecai, All the king's servants and people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come into the inner court who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called out to come in unto the king these 30 days. Those next 30 days, I'm not on the schedule to come in, and that's the time period that all the Jews are going to be killed. They told to Mordecai Esther's words, and Mordecai commanded to Esther, answer Esther, think not within thyself that thou shalt escape the king's house more than all the Jews. And they're going to kill you too, because people know you're a Jew. She's not supposed to have told anybody that she's a Jew, but I'm sure that there's people that know that she is one. And Mordecai saying, you're a Jew just like the rest of us, we're all going to be killed. Just like Hitler's day. Okay? Kill them all. For if thou altogether holds thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. God's going to take care of his people, but if you don't go and do what you're supposed to do, you're going to die. Okay? But thy father's house, that means includes me, Mordecai says, shall be destroyed, and who knoweth whether they are to come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Stop reading right there. I like this. Mordecai puts it right back on. She says, I can't go in there because he hasn't called me in. I mean, she's the queen, but it's not like she's in charge of anything. And so she says, I'm not called in for the next 30 days. I can't go in there. And he said, God will deliver his people. He always does. But if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you and I are going to be killed. Okay? And God will always take care of his people. It has always taken care of his people. But you've been brought to the kingdom, who knows, whether you've been brought to be the queen of Persia for such a time as this. I love that saying, for such a time as this. Here's my first part of my lesson, okay? Whatever position you are at work, in your family, in the church, in your neighborhood, whatever position you're placed in at any given time, God has a job for you to do, and you're brought there for a specific time as this. Okay? You don't know. You think, Charlie's like, I don't have an effect on these kids at school. I don't know if they're doing good or not. You have no idea the impact that you have on other people. Okay? I saw someone yesterday at a gas station. I hadn't seen him probably 10 years. And they're like, oh, Brother John. They used to come. They used to come when they were a kid. Okay? And when they were a teenager. Then their kids came when their kids were little. And now their kids are grown. It makes me sound like I've been here for a long time. And now their kids are adults. And she said, I can't believe my son's 20 years old. I remember walking into their house when her son, when she came when she was a teenager, I remember walking into their house when her son was a baby, newborn baby. And I remember you and I went to their house at one point when the kids were a little bit older. Okay. All right. You don't know, you have no idea why God has placed you in the position you're in. For the job that you have, I think Jared's changed job in the last 6 months. You have no idea why you're in that position. Okay, I think God's got a perfect plan for everything. Marlon at the dairy or Kathy at the insurance office. That doesn't matter where your work leads you, or those of you who are teachers or were teachers. No matter where God leads you, He's got you there for a reason. I traveled from Northern Virginia to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee, Ohio, Kentucky, different places, all over West Virginia. Charlie went to, he was saying something about going to Seneca Rock. I said, yeah, I drove by that the other day. I don't stop, yeah, I drove. Okay, I'm fully convinced that no matter where I'm at, God has me there for a reason. There's been accidents take place, or backup in traffic, different things that have happened. There was a wreck near our house probably about 20 years ago. Your dad was caught in traffic, okay, right at the end of my driveway. I heard the crash, so I walked down there to see what was going on. And your dad had come to church maybe 3 or 4 years before that, and had been here, and I always remembered him. Here's the wreck, and I was down there. I couldn't help anybody, but I was down there where the wreck was at. And as the traffic backed up, I was speaking to everybody. Okay, well, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for that wreck, but there's a reason for me to be out there, right? So I'm just talking to everybody. It's like it's like keeping contact with Johnny through those years. It may have only been then and two other times or whatever before you Rebecca started dating, but there was always that contact. I ran into Chuck at the down Institute 6 months ago. I think the construction industry shut down as a COVID thing, but I had no idea who he was. Some guy walked by in front of my truck. He said, "Hey, Brother John." He came back, and when it hadn't started, if I hadn't heard his voice, I wouldn't recognize him because I hadn't seen him in, I don't know, 10 years. I hadn't seen him, I don't think, since Carrie's wedding, however long that's been, okay? But God puts us in these places for a reason, for a specific reason, okay? All right. There's no way that we can know the future. Most often, we can't know the full purpose of the events that shape our lives. But God has us there for a reason. Just like Esther being the queen, he has her there to save his people. She doesn't know. Okay? All right. Let's read the next book. Any questions on that? Any questions? You ever think that God's got no use for you? Okay? Anybody ever think that? I've had people tell me that God's got no use. Yeah, God's got no use for you, man. You're wasting. Okay. But you don't think God has no use for you? He's got you where you are for a reason, for a specific purpose. He wants to use you. Okay? Now let's read on. If any questions, ask a question. Okay, let's read on. Check verse 15. Then Esther bade them return to Mordecai this answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, because they're not the only ones, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. What did she ask him to do? What did she ask Mordecai to do? Who's ready? And do what? Fast and pray. Okay? She said, fast for me, but we know the prayer's in. Okay? She said, me and my maidens, I also my maidens will fast likewise, and go in, and I will go into the king. I love the idea that fasting changes things. Okay? The Jews went up on a mountain, Mount Transfiguration. Peter, James, and John went with him. They saw him transformed into like a light. His raiment changed. And he's talking to Moses and I can't think. Who was it? Moses and somebody else. Anyway, then they came down off the mountain, and the disciples had a crowd of people gathered around them. And Jesus said, "What's going on?" And they said, "I brought my son, and your disciples can't do anything with him. He's demon possessed." And Jesus cast out the demons. And the disciples asked Jesus privately, "Why couldn't we do that? We cast out demons before." And Jesus' response was, "This kind cometh forth but by prayer and fasting." Okay. There's certain things that you just got to pray about, and there's other things you fast and pray. And the guy says, "Okay, what's fasting?" It means giving up something that you want right now to get something later on. Okay, it could be food. Okay, I know people that have fasted different times. Different people in scriptures fasted. Jesus did this, and different people they fast for 40 days. They go 40 days without food. Well, Brother John, I can't do that. Okay, I've had people. I know people do this. They try to fast, they get sick. Okay, they try to just miss the meal. For me, I shake. Okay, after a certain period of time, I'm used to eating about every 4 hours. You know, you don't get. You don't get a body like this by fasting. So anyway, but I'm used to eating a lot. So someone at work today Jason said, he said, "I'm hungry." I said, "I never get to that point. I always eat before I get to hungry." Right? If I eat before I get hungry, then I never get hungry. Right? So here's the question then. These people are about to die. Esther, Mordecai, all the Jews that are in Shushan. They're all going to die if the king doesn't, if God doesn't do something. Okay? And Esther said, if I perish, I perish. If I die in this process, I'm going to die in the process doing what I'm supposed to be doing. What would cause you to fast and pray? Is there a specific need that you get on your knees? And then you have to stay on your knees. You still got to go to work. You still got to, whatever you do, okay? You still got to do your daily chores. But you get on your knees and say, "I'm not going to eat until I know." Okay? I've taught on this, on fasting, since I got saved. Probably shortly after I got saved, I understood what this meant. And I started fasting. Used to fast on a regular basis certain times, on a regular basis at certain times. But I've also taught throughout the history of our church, and the churches I was in, I always taught the teenagers on fasting. Okay? One of our teenage boys came to me one time, and he said, your mom was lost, your dad was saved. And it was Mark and Sue. So it was. Sue had not got saved. Mark got saved. Chris got saved first time he came. Mark got saved a couple months later. Sue didn't get saved for, it seemed like a year. But Sue, right, Mark? Chris came to me and he said, you taught on fasting. And it wasn't a message that I taught right then. It's a message I taught 6 months before or whatever. And he said, you taught on fasting? I said, yes, sir. He said, will you fast and pray with me? Mom's mad she's not going to come back to church. And she was lost. And this is Sue. It's been faithful now for 25 years, 20 years. I said, sure. I'll fast and pray with you until she gets saved, or she comes back to church, or we get an answer. Okay? So she told this story one of our homecoming things about Mark and I were laughing and cutting up about it when she was telling the story. But anyway, I said, here's the condition. I told Chris this is the condition. You've got to eat the evening meal at your house because your mom's going to get home from work and fix supper. And you can't say, Mom, I'm fasting until you get saved. You can't be real spiritual about it. You can't like you can't let her know because, okay, Jesus told the Pharisees, they disfigured their faces. They let everyone know. They wouldn't brush their teeth, comb their hair, or whatever. So they would make it, I'm fasting, I'm miserable. They wouldn't know how miserable I am because I'm fasting. Jesus said, wash your face. He didn't say brush your teeth, but everyone wants you to do that anyway. But comb your hair, wash your face, and get out there. Let nobody else know that you're doing it. Okay? Nobody should know that you're doing this. So I told Chris, I said, if you let your mom know that you're fasting until she gets saved or comes back to church, she's going to think we're nuts. And so you have to eat your evening meal at your, when your family sits down for dinner. You said you eat the evening meal and not mention it. Brother John, should you be telling that boy that? And he was, how old was he? 14 years old. I said, if you feel like you need to eat, eat. And I want you to eat every evening with your family too. Okay. I don't know how long it was before she came back to church. I think it was that was on Sunday, and it was when the following Wednesday. It's like the week Wednesday, 10 days later. I was so tickled she came to the door because I was fasting with him because he asked me to. Okay. And so she came in. I was like, I can't wait to get home. We're going to eat. Okay. It wasn't long after that she got saved. Okay. And there was other times that Chris came to me or other people come to me and said, will you fast and pray with me? Okay? When Mordecai sent the message to Esther, he said, we're all going to die. If God doesn't do something, we're all going to die. Fasting, we got to do something. You got to go and see the king. And she sent the message back and said, okay, you gather all the Jews in Shushan. The Shushan is referred to the palace where the king lives and they all serve, or the entire city. You gather all the Jews together, you fast with me for 3 days and I'll go in. Okay, fast with me. And she said, I'll gather my maids together and I'll fast. Okay, if there's ever a time that someone comes to you and says, will you fast with me? The answer ought to be yes. Okay? And if you ever want me to fast with you about something, the answer ought to be yes. Okay, my answer will be yes. I can't tell you how long it will be. I know my physical limitations. Okay, when I was in Bible college, there was a guy that wanted to fast, and he fasted for a long time, and nobody knew he was doing it. His roommates didn't know it. His teachers didn't know it. He got sick. He ended up in the hospital, and then finally he said, well, I was fasting. Well, that's great, but you made your body sick. So whatever that limitation is, well, Brother John, you're not supposed to, if you're real spiritual, you don't put any limitations on God. Well, I figure I could probably go about 2 weeks without eating anything. And when I fast now, because I drive so much, I got to drink coffee. I don't know if I have to drink coffee. I just drink coffee because of, I don't know, can anyone here drive 500 miles without drinking a cup of coffee? I can't do that. Or a thermos or a pot. So, right, Charlie? Did you drink coffee? Yeah. Did you have a cup before you went on your excursion yesterday? Yeah, okay. If I drink a whole bunch of coffee, I get sick to my stomach. That's all I have. So I have, I'll get yogurt or something like that, or something that'll calm my stomach down. Or those bottles of liquid yogurt you get at Aldi's or whatever, you drink the stuff. But why? Whereas John, you're cheating. No, God knows my heart, but they also, I think I want to stay alive when I'm driving, and I don't want to get sick. Okay, so after people talk about juice fast, where they drink nothing but juice. But we knew a girl that what was that big powder stuff? Slim Fast came out. It was about 35 years ago, something like that. We were in college at the time, and a girl that we knew, she lost all kinds of weight. She was deaf, and she was telling Tammy about it. Tammy told me because I can't read the sign when it's going real fast. But she started that Slim Fast stuff, and she had nothing but that and juice for 30 days. You know, like people drinking Ensure now or something like that. You know, like people, sick people would have. Okay, you find out what works for you. But here's the question: what would you fast over? What's important enough, big enough to you? Either a decision you have to make, or a decision you want somebody else to make, or a decision you're asking God to get involved in, to do something in a circumstance, you're asking God to get involved, and you say, I won't eat until another, or I won't eat today until tomorrow. There was one of our kids that was having surgery. Charlie was going around. Catherine, Katie, and something, the girls are they're Carrie's age when they came here. Remember both from Catherine, Katie, Catherine, Ann, and Katie. Okay, one of them, I can't remember which one it was now. One was having surgery. She was sick. And they said, but on Monday, they said, you're going to have surgery on Wednesday. But they said, you're not going to be able to eat till then. And so I was at the hospital with him, and they said, will you not eat? Not because I can't eat. I said, I won't eat. This is a 9-year-old kid. He's not going to be able to eat for 48 hours or something. And I said, I won't eat till you can eat. I can't wait. I said, when you get, after your surgery, I'm going to take you to McDonald's. So I went to McDonald's, and I think it's Amy, maybe. I can't remember what it was. So you know, after the surgery and they're back at school, I went and picked up McDonald's and brought it to the school and had lunch with them at school. Why? Okay, why? If somebody asks you to, it's important enough for them that you fast. What's important enough to you that you will fast? Okay? Yeah, I know it's only between you and God. Nobody else. Rebecca does your cooking, and Michelle does the cooking, or whatever. When somebody cooks a big meal, and then you sit down and you say, I'm not eating. Okay, you let them know ahead of time, I'm not going to eat. And I would let Rebecca or Tammy, whoever's cooking dinner at our house, I'm not going to eat. See, so I'll have nut. Okay? We're giving up something else. Giving up food makes you sick. You give up something else. Okay? And just, I won't do that until I get an answer. Okay? Any questions on that? Next part of this is this. Of course, God has a plan. We know God has a plan for everything. When Mordecai said, for such a time as this, we got to take the chance that there's a purpose in everything that happens. Not purpose, not to take a chance of going to sin, but responding to life in a spiritual manner, in a God-pleasing manner. Last September, Tammy gave me a Bible. It's got Charles Spurgeon's notes in it. I love reading the notes. And he's talking about changes. He said a lot of people make decisions in church that, I'm going to reword what he said. He said, transforming people's lives is not decisions basically made in church. It's an outgrowth of you having a relationship with God. You're praying and you're reading your Bible, and the changes that take place are a result of you praying, and something bothers you that you're doing, and you need to give that thing up. Or something you need to start doing, so you start doing it because you've prayed and asked God to lead you. You've read something in Scriptures that said, I shouldn't be doing this anymore, so I won't do this anymore. And I know PR, when he's teaching a lot of times, he said a lot of times, most often, Christianity is like a checkbox, a checklist. You got to check this box, check this box, check this box. But a lot of times, you're only doing it because someone else says you're supposed to do this. But according to Spurgeon, the real growth comes because you're reading yourself, reading the Bible yourself, and you're praying, and God's saying, this is what I want you to work on. This is who I want you to receive. This is who I need you to witness to. This is what I want you to bake cookies and take it to this lady over here, to this family over here. I want you to do this for these people. And that's the change that comes from the inside. And that's a personal thing. And that fasting is a personal thing. And Esther's words were, we're going to do this. She said, if I perish, I perish. If I die in the process, I die in the process. If I go in to see the king, and he puts the thumbs down, doesn't hold out the scepter, and the guards take my head off, then that's the result. We're going to fast and pray for enough. I'm going to ask you to fast and pray for 3 days, she said. And well, of course, Mordecai did, and all their friends did, because they're all going to die if they didn't. So she risked her life for everybody else around her, for the rest of the Jews around her, and herself. So I risked her life by going in. What would you risk your life for? Okay? What would you fast for? Give up something for? What would you risk your life for? You can answer that. Okay? Unless you already know, and you want to answer that. What would you risk your life for? Or what would you fast for? You may have somebody sick and you fast and pray. Okay? Someone had cancer several years ago, and they got better. They recovered, fully recovered. They're back in church. And probably a couple of years after they had cancer, they said, I need to talk to you. I said, okay. Somebody shorter than me. They said, I need to talk to you. I said, okay. So we walked back to the office. And they said, when I was sick, did you fast for me? Yeah, maybe. I went, that's like, you're not supposed to tell. And I said, yeah, maybe. So I knew it. I just knew you did, or would. It's okay. Okay. If you're that, if it matters that much to you, when you're supposed to fast, Brother John, when you're bothered about something so much that you can't eat. I've heard people talk about praying all night. Anybody pray all night? I've never done it. Okay? You know when you're supposed to pray all night? I can't remember staying up all night praying. I'm staying up bothered by stuff. But when you're supposed to pray all night and you're so bothered you can't sleep. When the best time to fast is something on your heart so heavy that you can't eat. It just bothers you. Remember Rebecca talked about big days at college. She said all the guys that were miserable. Okay, they're hard to get along with, irritable because they weren't eating anything. Okay, and it showed. They said one big day is Sunday where they're all excited about it, but they hadn't eaten for a week, so they're yelling at everybody and rude to everybody, pushing people out of the way. Okay, it's not that. It's something inside of you that says, well, we need something, whatever it is. You know what we need. I'll stay here till we get it. Okay. I remember hearing Brother Howells, our pastor in Indiana, talked about he was a soul winner. He was a preacher. God was using him in a mighty way. But when his dad died, he wept that his dad's grave. His dad was lost. And he wept over his dad's grave. He just stayed there and stayed there and stayed there. He said he couldn't even tell you how long he stayed there. It was hours, a couple of days. He doesn't really know. He can't remember. But he just stayed there until there was a change. He stayed there until there was a change inside of him. His preaching, his ministry changed. And a lot of people got saved after that. Okay? Any questions on fasting? Comments? Going once, going twice? Okay. Some of you guys used to fast in high school on the wrestling team. Okay, they had to get down to 184 or 185, whatever the number was. I could never get down to it. Anyway, thank you, Lord, for loving us. I pray that you'll direct us. And when you place something on our heart or there's a need in front of us, that we'll give up the temporary to grab the eternal and get a hold of you. I pray for our church family. There's sick among us. There's needs among us. There's needs within our families. I pray you'll work in our families. I pray you'll use us in a mighty way. Help us individually. I'm not going to proclaim a fast and ask everyone in the room or everyone in our church family to fast for 3 days and nothing like that. But help us to realize that there's need. That we need to get hold of you to get answers. I pray you'll use us. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.